Hi, I'm Daryl Urbanski, and welcome to the Best Business Podcast. My mission is to help create 200 new multimillionaire business owners. How? You'll do better when you know better. In my interviews, you'll hear from self-made millionaires, seven-figure business owners, authors, and world-class experts sharing how they did it so you can too without experiencing the same obstacles they did. Now, if you like this interview, please share it with a friend you think will benefit. They'll appreciate it, and I will as well. You can also connect with me on social media. Look for Daryl Urbanski, D-A-R-Y-L, Urban Ski, U-R-B-A-N-S-K-I, and add me so we can be friends. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy what I've prepared for you right here, right now. Why, hello everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. My name is Daryl Urbanski as always, and today we have a very special guest for you. Today we are joined with Chris Goegan, and he is truly a master marketing mechanic. I have to admit he's one of the most impressive unknown marketers I've met. From the case studies that he's got, the results he's gotten his clients, the fact that he's Canadian impresses me. Canadian are such good people, so we connect on that. But also just with his uncanny and unselfish desire to help others. It really comes through when you get to meet him, and it's really impressive just how, like even myself, I've came here, I'm in Southern San Diego, fellow Canadian, just really helping open doors and make the proper connections. And so it's been very, very powerful. And Chris, we had to talk about this last time about how, bandwidth, and that we wish we could help more people, and that sometimes what you see is just a small adjustment. It can really break through, or in case I think it was your daughter's dance school, and, these different scenarios, when you've got a skill that you just beaten on that craft so much that you really wish you could do more with it. So I hope today on our call that we kind of take up a challenge and see what we can do to really help listeners today break through anything that's holding them back and figure out the gaps in their marketing. And the reason why I kind of pre-frame the call that way is because Chris, he's made over 100,000 cold calls, says hating all but 3 of them. He has studied NLP, persuasion, how to influence others, negotiations, sales and marketing tactics. He's also an endurance athlete, which is kind of a man after my own heart. He's completed an Ironman, and if you don't know what an Ironman triathlon are, they are quite the feat indeed. In fact, I used to live in a small town. They had one every year, and it's on my bucket list. So Chris, you impress me again and again and again. If you don't have no idea what an Ironman is, it's a 2.5 mile swim, 112 mile cycle, bike ride, and then a marathon, a 26.2 mile run at the end. So, and that's in like one day. So, obviously he's a man of determination and focus and the ability to just chisel away at something, a craft, until you're excellent at it. So in business over the last 20 years, he's put over $65 million in the pockets of small business owners. He's taken a company from $6.8 million to $15.2 million in under 2.5 years. He's helped market multiple books and helped sell over hundreds of thousands of copies. And he works with everyone from struggling entrepreneurs to startups to very successful multi-million-dollar companies, including ones owned and founded by best-selling authors. Chris, I really appreciate your time today. It's always a pleasure when we get together. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me here, Daryl. And it's always funny, listen to at the bios, because it's like, I wonder who that guy is. I'd like to meet him. It's you can talk, you can talk to my wife, and she'll give you, she can give you a totally different bio.
Yep. Yeah.
But,
yeah. No,
thank you for the kind introduction.
I was just researching about that last night. It's called the imposter syndrome, and it's an interesting thing that's come up where people who are really unskilled at something, they tend to be ignorant of their level, and they think they rate themselves as more skilled than they are. And people who are really skilled at stuff, they overestimate others, if that makes sense. They assume if things are easy for them, it must be easy for everyone else, and so they tend to rate themselves lower. And so I know exactly what you mean, because sometimes you hear your bio and you're like, wait, I didn't accomplish all that. Did I really do all that? And and that's a good thing. I mean, just even the sense of having that quote unquote deja vu, it even just helps solidify the fact that you're really skilled at what you do. So, yeah, Chris, again, thank you for joining us. How did you even get involved in all this? I know your story a little bit, but can you just share it with some of our listeners? Kind of what got you, how did you get bitten by the marketing bug and get involved in business?
I wish I could say, it was pure intellect and genius, and a well-crafted plan that got me here. But it was actually quite the opposite. I started off as an engineer, and my degree is actually in mechanical engineering, and I worked at manufacturing plants. Worked at Ford Motor Company initially in Canada, and back then they're making big changes, and I had a ton of responsibility, and it was like there's this commercial on a long time ago, like cereal with Mikey, and it's like, let's give it to Mikey, he'll try it, he'll try anything. It was kind of, if you're under 30, you might not get that commercial, but if you're in your 30s or 40s like me, then you probably remember it. Anyhow, back in my days as an engineer, that's kind of what my life was like. I got thrown into the worst areas of the plant. Said, okay, Chris, go make it better, or by the way, you're going to get fired. So there's my motivation,
no pressure.
And no pressure at all, and so what it did, and I had some great mentors, along the lines that really helped me out. But what it did is it really taught me to go in to an area, find the problems, prioritize the problems of the biggest problems that will give you the biggest returns, prioritize them, find fixes, and then put fixes, short-term fixes to test, and then long-term fixes in place, and having like dashboards to be able to monitor and analyze things. And it also taught me, in addition to finding problems and problem solving, it also taught me strategy too. I really learned and honed strategy, because they would put me in a bad area, I'd turn around, fix it, make it good, and then they would take me and move me on to the next bad area. And then and I also got like all new technology stuff that people were afraid of. So
that's really awesome. I want to recap, because I feel like you just covered some really powerful things there. So obviously it sounds like you kind of crafted your skills, but in trial by fire, being thrown in with the wolves and sink or swim. But you covered some important steps. So first you reported that you dive into a department, you do a diagnostic, figure out what was the problem, what had been tried, what hadn't been tried. You would apply a couple of different solutions, and then you said that there was a dashboard, that you would set up a dashboard to report on the change. And that strategy, of course, was a part of it all. I might have had things out of sequence, but some of those key pieces I feel were just really like, people might have just missed it and just heard it and like in one ear out the other, but I just feel that that's just in itself is just such an important, like, just a little loop that you said that you really fleshed out, because I think a lot of people, they might be developed in one or two of those areas, but they don't have like all those facets developed. Does that make sense? Is that what you do every time? You would have to dive in first. Would you know the problem when you came in, or you would just know what the general symptoms were? You wouldn't necessarily know what the problem was, and you would do research first. How would that process unfold? Yeah,
so they would say, okay, Chris, it's we want you to go work in the in the cylinder block line, and the quality really sucks. Reject rates are high. And go work with Herb, the engineer over there, smart guy. Go work with him and get things figured out. And then we would have some data to look at, but it would always start off with just like a general overview of what the problem was, and then I would have to just start peeling the layers back, finding out, okay, where's the most expensive at, where we're getting the worst efficiencies on. And then understanding the part and how the part's made, and then understanding that, well, if you fix things upstream, it's going to help things out downstream. So downstream, if the problems are showing up downstream, well, it's a lot of times it's not the downstream problem. It's when you fix things upstream, all the stuff down the road goes away.
Right. That's a theory from a book. Isn't there a book called The Goal, or was that Bottleneck Theory? Do you know what I'm talking about? Maybe.
The Goal by I was actually one of the first books that I read many moons ago. Yeah, it was identifying Herbie, the bottleneck. So what that whole process did is that it's one of the biggest things I do with clients these days is just go in and they'll tell me what the problem is, and then I just start peeling layers away, and to find, like all the problems, and then usually from all the problems, and this was, I realized this, 27 years ago as an engineer, it's like that, you have all these problems, but you've really got, 3 or 4 are the really big problems.
Right.
And what you do is you prioritize those and work on those first. And then you keep going down you can solve those, lock those down, and then you go down the list, until you're at a happy point. So, and the other thing in my days as an engineer is, talking, so it's like, I get the things, humming in the, on the cylinder block, and then they would move me over to like the crankshaft or, pistons, or, just from one area to the other area. So what it really taught me is that, the principles are all the same, of making parts, even though the different steps are completely different. The process is the same. It's the exact same principles. So it didn't matter, when I moved from Canada to California, and I was working on like designing and manufacturing of bearings and things, going like, space station programs, Hunt for October submarines, bicycles, etc. It's like it didn't matter that it was a completely different part than engine parts. The process and the steps, the principles were exactly the same. So making a widget, so I replaced the product with like a widget, and the thought process stayed exactly the same, which is very similar to marketing. It's like it doesn't matter which marketing, the principles remain the same for all of them.
Right. Got it. Yep. Sorry, keep going. I don't mean to interrupt. I just want to encourage you on your path. That's right. That there's usually, if you feel really frustrated, you feel like you have 20 problems. When you look at it, you actually only have 2 to maybe 5 problems. You don't really have 20.
And usually the problems aren't at the place where you're looking for them. Like when I was training for Ironman, I was having serious knee problems. At a point where, and I never had knee issues or anything like that. I've been very fortunate there. But I was having, about a level 9 on a scale of 1 to 10 pain, and it's like, I'm like considering pulling out of the Ironman.
Yeah, it's not
no, and especially like my motivating reason for doing it was I'd lost my dad to cancer, and I was doing it to raise money for cancer awareness and fighting cancer.
Right.
And so
you raised some good money for that too. You raised like $8,000, $10,000.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, it was a really good program, Team in Training. I'll give a plug for them. The Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, wonderful program. They gave us a coach that coached us, and he put together a Excel spreadsheet. Says, okay, here's the program. Do the workout. Forget about whether you think you can do this or not. It doesn't matter. Do this today. Just look at your workout today. Do that, and if you do that every single day, I guarantee you're going to do it. He goes, I've done it myself. I've helped hundreds of people do it. This guy was like, the early 60s, and it's just like, all right, former Marine. It's like, all right, I believe you. So just like focus on just the small steps, and the big steps happen. But anyhow, back to the point with like I had this pain in my knee, and I was considering pulling out of it because it was painful, to like ride for 8 hours and with this like incredible pain.
Right.
And then someone on my team, my Ironman team, we went to this a trigger point therapy clinic. And what it is these there's these they have 4 molars, but these trigger point things are like they're like your own personal pain person. Like so, it's like these rollers that get really deep in the muscles. And what turned out was I had a trigger point, which is your muscle starts balling, like tightening up. So I had a ball about the size of a tennis ball in my thigh. Whoa. And I just started rolling that and working on that. And after like 2-3 weeks, it finally loosened up, and I felt like I was giving birth. And I mean, it hurt, and I was like in tears, and it felt so good all at the same time. And my wife will laugh at me when I say that. She's like, you have no idea what it's like to give birth. It's like, well, I'm a guy, I don't. You're right, but it's like humor me, all right?
Right.
So so like I got on that trigger point, and then my knee pain it released, and it went away. So it wasn't, if I focused on the knee, it wouldn't have been fixed. The problem was somewhere else. And same thing too. It's like I'll get like ankle pains, and I know that I've got trigger points in my calves. So I roll those out, my ankle pain goes away right away. So, with, kind of like tying the bow back on the story, back in my days as an engineer and, my current days in marketing,
Yep.
It's like where people are experiencing the pain is usually not the source of the pain. It's usually somewhere else.
Right. And was it, and prescription without diagnostic is malpractice. That's something that we picked up. So without doing a diagnostic. I don't know why I'm fumbling with words today, but that's why that's so important, which is why when you just ran through the steps, you're like, yeah, we used to do this, and this, and you ran through it. But I'm like, whoa. For a lot of our listeners, that might, like, there's some key things, like the concept for me of like a business dashboard. It was phenomenal. Like, I remember that was like the holy grail when I was like, like the heavens opened up. I was like, I get it. Oh my God. Can you maybe even talk about that a little bit? I mean, so first you have to dive deep, and the problem is often not what you think it is. And then once you identify the problem, what would you do then? You come up with just some solutions, some alternatives. You would list you already said it. You'd list all the possible causes or possible problems. You try to identify the greatest ROI for your time invested. And then once you knew those, you would apply your solution. And how would you set up reporting? How would that work?
So with regards to fixing the problem and reporting, sometimes it's like we couldn't do a permanent fix. So like sometimes it's just a temporary fix. So we want to see if we made this fix, if it would actually work. And so we put a temporary fix in place and then collect the data on it and make sure it gave us the return that we wanted before investing money into new machinery, new equipment, new systems, new new stuff.
Right.
Same thing in marketing. It's just like you don't want to invest unnecessary money if you don't have to.
Right. Right. Yep. Well, I'm with you.
So you want to be wise about it, and then having, because like a lot of times, both my days as an engineer and in marketing, it's like the data doesn't exist. It would be easy to collect the data, but the data doesn't exist. So it became a matter of, all right, let's start measuring these characteristics. So say if it was engineering, it was a hole that was in that we want to put in a cylinder block, is measuring, make sure we had the hole the right size in the right position every time, and collecting that data and watching that data and running stats on that data. And it could not be anything like incredibly like extreme analysis, or like you just start watching the data and you start seeing trends and things like that. You see patterns develop, and and then you find the solutions for things, and the numbers start telling you things. And everyone's business has got numbers, and the numbers are screaming and telling them something. The problem is that most business owners are so busy being successful that they don't have time to like A, know what to look for, or B, don't have time to actually do the looking and monitoring. Yep. So, but it's definitely important to have that dashboard monitoring, the key elements.
Oh, definitely. One of my mentors said that what you can't measure, you can't manage, and if you can't measure it, you can't manage it, and if you can't manage it, you can't grow it. And that's where, when I first heard about the business dashboard, it was like the heavens opened up, and I was like, oh my God, it's like a car dash for your business. How much fuel do we have in the tank? How fast are we going? Is my engine light on? It was just this huge aha. And I'm not even going to try to profess to be like I've mastered it by any means yet, but no, I just think that's a really, really powerful insight. And again, for you, maybe myself, as mechanics, I say that all the time, there's no plumber in the sky that determines, or accountant in the sky that determines how much money your business will or won't make. It's like plumbing. It really is. It's like a mechanic system. It's like you said, regardless of industry, you can plug and play pieces in there. It's traffic with conversion mechanisms and end results and, decision diamonds. If you have somebody calls in, they've got, 3 options. They can hang up, they can book an appointment, or they can, not book an appointment type thing, and so it's just really boiling it down to that core essence of what you got and just building the pipeline out. So that's really, really, really helpful. Did we miss anything? I just got so excited about some little details, but did we miss anything there? I think we kind of went through it from diagnosing the problem to listing and prioritizing the possible solutions, applying a temporary solution first before you go and, drop your bank on it. And even if it isn't a problem, even if it's a problem that doesn't exist, like a new marketing campaign or a new product that you're trying to launch or something like that, that's apply a temporary solution, get some data, some results first before you make it permanent, and then set up some sort of measuring and reporting on the performance of it. Moving forward, that way you know if you have a better solution or if you need to go back and fix it. And even just by measuring it on its own, like is known to improve the metrics. Just by tracking and measuring, things improve, right? So
exactly. And also want to breathe some encouragement into people too, because like a lot of times with business owners, they're all or nothing personalities. So it's like we have no reporting or we have no dashboard, or our dashboard sucks. We need to put a dashboard in, and they look for, okay, let's get the best dashboard. And then they start we want to pull in every single stat. It's it doesn't really have to be like that. In fact, usually it depends on the personality and the situation. A lot of times what's way more effective is, let's just start off simple. Okay, there's no dashboard. Let's look at how many, let's look at analytics and, how many people are hitting a site. And then let's go into Infusionsoft or whatever system you're using. Let's look at how many people are opting in. Just, simple high level stats. And instead of doing that on every product, let's just look at, the one or two top producing ones or the one or two new ones that you're working on. And just look at that, because it's easy to do that, to implement that and look at it weekly. It's easy to do that, and then you start getting the habit. The stuff gets done. Whereas people that want to do everything, it becomes like a 6 month ordeal, and then it gets pushed to the side and nothing gets done because it's got to be perfect or they're not going to do it.
Right. And the other part that I like is that it's called habit stacking, and it's actually a really powerful way to be successful with something. And that's just develop a baseline. So if you brush your teeth every morning and that's a habit that you've got down pat, you can habit stack. If you will need to remember to take a pill every morning, if you need to remember to do 5 push-ups every morning, you stack it on your toothbrushing habit. So every time you go brush your tooth, you're also supposed to do something else with it. And so that's why I like is that you just said, you break it off small, keep it simple first. At least if you can't measure 5 things, measure 1. And at least get the measurement and the reporting down. And then once you get that, then you can start measuring 2, and then you can start measuring 3, or you figure out that maybe the one's the only one that you really need. So, the biggest thing is just get momentum and get moving.
Yep.
So, Chris, what were some of the challenges that you had to overcome in your career in solving some of these problems? I mean, doubling or over doubling a company's revenues. I've done that, and I know that there's a lot of learning that goes into those scenarios. And what if anything was holding you back, and how did you overcome it?
Yeah. So a big thing, I'd say the biggest challenge that I've had, it has been coming to terms with a false belief of the self-made man. As an engineer, you get really data and numbers and strategy and engineering is a huge thing, and understanding how things work, being able to take things apart, tinker with them, and put them back together again. You start getting a lot of skills and a lot of confidence. In your ability to do things, which is, there's nothing wrong with that. That's completely fantastic. And then when I left engineering, I went into sales and commission-only sales, and was really bad at it at first, and then got really good at it and built sales teams and stuff. With sales, it's numbers and knowing why people buy. Knowing the emotional and psychological reasons of why people buy, and the values that that they use to make their decisions off of. So when you combine those two things of data and numbers and understanding how things work, being able to take things apart, and knowing why people buy, you can start getting a false sense of self. Excuse me, and you can start developing some For me, I started developing some ego problems
Okay.
where I thought, I had a license to print money.
Mm.
Because it's like when you can look at a problem, dissect it, figure out, what's wrong with it, and then when you know how to like take something, re-engineer it, and sell it to somebody, it's just like I can go anywhere and do anything, and I
Right.
can make anything.
Pick an industry and away you go. Right.
Yeah.
I know the arrogance you speak of.
Yeah. And so I said the biggest challenge for me to overcome was coming to terms with the false belief of the self-made man. So like I always heard and was always told if it's going to be, it's up to me, and be the guy, the man, the leader, be the guy that makes things happen, make it happen, be amazing, do something great. So I'm thinking, all right, well, if it's going to be, it's up to me. I just need to do stuff, get stuff, apply these skills, and I'm going to be a smashing success everywhere. What happened is, with that being my view, I tried and I had no problems outworking a lot of people. I always, tell people, like in hockey, one of my favorite places, I'm not a big guy. One of my favorite places to play in hockey is in the corners and the boards, because I could go in there and I could muck it up and outwork, guys, like almost twice as big as, than me, and come out with a pocket, and make some good things happen. So I had successes and failures along the way, but what happened was, life kind of came at me, where life itself, or God, like, changed things and showed me that just because I've got those skills, it doesn't mean that I'm going to be successful. That there are other factors, out there, and the whole, if it's going to be, it's up to me. And I try to make myself, I thought, I was destined to be one of these big internet marketing guru guys. And I started down that path, and, because I had wisdom and people who I just, kind of coach, just to help them out.
Yep.
They had great success, and they're like, oh my gosh, I've been through Brian Tracy's programs, and I've been through this guy's programs, I've been through, Zig Ziglar, I've been through like all these programs, and yours was like, the stuff that you said, it hit home. Oh my gosh, it's like, I made, from the cup of coffee we had, I took that thing, I went home, I implemented it, and and I got a $20,000 deal that I never would have had without that.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, and so it's like you need to be an internet marketing guru guy.
Right.
So so I started like fashioning myself off of how these internet marketing guru guys, how I perceived them to be in my mind, whether they're actually that or not, I have no idea. But it really wasn't me. And it wasn't like I was trying to be someone who I wasn't meant to be. Because my nature is to connect with other people, get wisdom, from other people, formulate it with my own wisdom and experiences, and put it all together. I consider myself, I'm not, like the smartest guy in the world, and so I can look at some of the failures I had and quickly realize that I'm not the smartest guy. But it's like I consider myself, I'm a good student, a good learner, and I'm a good implementer and tester, and really good at observing and collecting and analyzing the data on things. And and so it's like I had to come to terms that for me, it's not about personal greatness. It's just about helping and serving other people. It's not about listening to my gut and jumping off a cliff and going for the big win and doing it all on my own. It's about, doing it slowly with wisdom and building a sound business over time. It's not a bam, kabam, wow marketing guy. That's not me. And, that's heavily propagated on the internet today.
Right.
It's like, I had to learn really like who I am and build my business on that, as opposed to trying to be like a big marketing guru guy and achieve fame, success, and fortune. So that was my personal greatest challenge.
Got it. Got it. No, and I love what you say about building like a real business, and it's not this splash in and, come in and go. You can do that. When you know how to do this as a marketer, you can see opportunities, and you can jump in and make some money and leave, but there's no business to that. It's like a crazy weekend. You're like, wow, that was awesome. It was amazing. Can't believe I did that. And now it's Monday morning again, and you got to like, right, what am I going to do for the week now? And that's to, and I say that because there are ethical people who do that marketers that just jump and go. And it's not, there's a bit of the persona that they just go in, they suck out all the money, they leave. There's good people that do that, and they make money selling a good product, and that's fine, but they don't have longevity, and there's no stability to that, right? Like you said, if you want to build a business, even that was one of the things Warren Buffett said, he looked for a business that was on a hill surrounded by a moat. And that was because he didn't want this noble, like agile thing that would do double backflip somersault. Like he just wanted something that made money every year for the last 50 years and doesn't look like it's changing anytime soon. You know what I mean? And just get in on that at a good price. And
also too, Daryl, it's that's an excellent point, and I love that visual. Warren Buffett having a castle or a house on the hill with a moat around it.
Right.
It's like there's no right or wrong. It's only what's right or wrong for for me, for you, for your business, for the guy or gal listening to this. It's not if they like doing get in and like see an opportunity, capitalize on it, be in and out short-term gain. Like God bless them. That's great. Do that. It's just different. It's just like don't try to be like for me it's just don't try to be someone I'm not. And for me it's about building a business. Not short-term success or flash or flare.
Got it. So what would you recommend to people who are starting out or struggling when we talk about it's about building a business and something that's, we talk about it's a long-term game. Okay, that's great, but what do I do today? What do I do now? I'm struggling. I'm getting started out. Obviously I have frustrations. I need money in the door. I need systems and processes because I do everything myself. That's probably a lot of people. And I think, honestly, that almost describes as kind of something that we just go through different iterations of over and over again. But what would you recommend?
Yeah, really good question. I recommend get help. Don't do it on your own. Don't try to be someone you're not. Be wise. Don't dive off the cliff. Take risks, but calculated risks on things. And just like, I can't stress enough, like the value of wisdom, because I heard someone say it's like there's two types of wisdom that the wisdom that you get from like trying and failing on your own, or other people's wisdoms who have tried and failed and figured things out in the areas that you're looking at,
right?
And so that's like because. I know a lot of people who own businesses, they've got an incredible work ethic, on things. And so like with me, like what I used to do was like, something didn't work, I'd become stressed. And then I'd feel miserable. So I would try harder. And then I would like see some read some book or read some article, about some guru guy or some expert. And then I would implement that and I would try harder. And the more I tried, the more it didn't work. And because I was just focused on just tactics, going from tactic to tactic. And, when I hit a point where I just got tired, I just physically was just exhausted, mentally and emotionally exhausted. And, I had to find, truth about, my position in the market and unplug from everything and talk with my wife. And I've got I've now got a board of directors, who I bounce every project off of. Talk with my wife and board and, a guy who's just been like a wonderful blessing. You call him like he's been coaching me or mentoring me or discipling me or whatever word you want to use, but he was a real godsend. And just started just gaining wisdom and just like thinking more deeply on issues and just not, not buying everything online because it looked and felt good, but gaining wisdom, gaining perspective, and then developing like a plan that I had confidence in, and taking action, on that. So people that are struggling, I can't encourage them enough to gain perspective, whether it's paid or from someone like close to them,
Right.
who's got wisdom, that's so valuable. Like there's all sorts of situations, where, because the solution situations depends on where they are. It's like for instance, like company I'm working with, they're about doing about $2.5 million a year in sales, and their goal was 5 years to double their business, get to 5 million. Well, we put together a plan and a strategy where first year we added about helped them get 40% increase in business, or about $1 million in revenue. Contrast that to another company you're working with who is they're frustrated. They were frustrated and struggling. They're a $20 million company. Identified one of the divisions that was doing $3.5 million, and the strategy for them was not to add 40% increase, but it was to take them from $3.5 million to 30 million, because the opportunity is there, but much different strategy. And contrast that to a coach that I work with who helps train Olympic athletes, and helping their business go from like, I need some business is really good, but I want some more cash flow right now, and some longer term some changes. So all three of them, I could go on and on. From hundreds of clients I work with, I go on and on about all different situations, but no two situations have been identical. And so it's like, how can you go online, read, get some course, and know what's right for you. Now, I understand there's times where it's like, I just need to know how to get traffic, so let me buy a Facebook class or something like that, or I need to know how to build a funnel or develop webinars. That's fine, different situation. But if you're struggling with something and it's not working, gaining wisdom and perspective is so important.
Yeah, no, I'm wholly on board. You do better when you know better, and it's funny because what you talk about, you mentioned Olympic athletes. Again, I've been fortunate enough, when I was in martial arts, I got to train. I myself didn't compete at the World Championships or anything, but I got to train with a lot of guys who did go on to win the World Championships, and a couple of guys have gone to the Olympics for judo. And one of the things is like when we just what it takes, like when you say about getting perspective. That's one of the things they call it, controller and android. And so basically what these guys would do, if you're going to go compete at the World Championships or the Olympics, first thing you do is you work with your coaches. You get a couple of coaches, and you and your coach, you obviously have a main coach and the other coaches, and you go and you look at who all your competitors are, and you analyze yourself, and you analyze people who you think are your highest competition, because if they're any real competition, they're not going to come out of nowhere. I know that's like the what is it, the Karate Kid story, right? You come out of nowhere and you go and you win, and that kind of happens, but for the most part, most of the competitors, they're on the map. So you take a look at everyone, and then you get your panel of coaches to come up with a strategy for you, a training plan and a game plan on tournament day. And when everybody signs off on it, you just go into Android mode and you just drill it. You just implement it. No more doubts, no more fears, no more what if I could change that? Maybe this is better. You just drill that and get your 10,000 reps in, and you just go. And then when you show up, the goal is that your plan was better than their plan, and that you just stuck to it and implemented. Just what you said about the triathlon. You had a coach. He made a plan. He just said, just wake up every day, just take the next step. Just wake up every day and just take the next step. Don't worry about how you're feeling. It's funny because I'm reading this book. It's called The Chimp Paradox, and it talks about how there's you have three brains. There's your human brain, which is the logical, rational self. Your chimp, who's the emotional, larger part of yourself, and then you've got the computer, which is like breathing. You don't even think about it, and just ignore the chimp, ignore the emotion side, forget how you feel about it. Just get up and just do it. You'll be amazed. And anyway, so it's great. It's great advice. If you're struggling, this is something else I think is really powerful to articulate. Excuse me. And that's like even the people listening to this right now, this is a magical thing. The fact that you can hear my voice right now, and, and that A1, it's not live, and B, the fact that wherever you are in the world, that my message, this voice, this interview with Chris and I, us downloading our brain to this audio recording is being able to be sent to you. Back in the day when someone had a problem, the only way they could find a solution was ask their friends and family, any educational, like any of their professors that they had around them, or go to the library. Like that was it. Like you had your knowledge and experience, you had the knowledge and experience of people around you could ask, and then you had the library. But now we're able to tap into world-class experts. And so if you're struggling, if there's anything at all that is a problem for you in your business, I guarantee someone has solved that problem or one extremely similar to it. So there should be no more questions of how do I do anything. It's all out there, and just write the check for the coaching if you need it, or the course if you need it, or spend the hours searching and sifting through, internet searches and files, and go to the library. But there should be no reason why you don't know what you need to do, even calls like this. So that's awesome. And then I guess the next step that we've kind of alluded to here is that when you've got your coaches and you've got your plan, to stick to it and follow it and invest everything you have in executing that, because that's why you hired your coaches to begin with, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really awesome. So Chris, is that the best advice you ever got?
Actually, best advice I ever got is to listen to my wife, to lend a keen ear to my wife. It's funny, but because it's my personality. It's like, you hear that saying. There's people who see the cup as half full. There's others who see it as half empty. Well, like I see the cup as as half full. Like I see problems and opportunities, and it's like, man, okay. Wow, look what we can make this thing become. And so I'm very good at seeing the upside on stuff. Well, I said there's two types of people. Those cup are half empty, those half full. Well, there's actually a third type, and that's my wife. My wife is cup. I don't see any cup. Show me the cup. And so we butted heads for a long time because I would bring something up to her and it'd be like, what, you're just negative. She'd shoot it down like right away. And so I wouldn't listen to her, and I'd just go off and go off of, my own brilliance and intelligence and wisdom and how smart I was, analyzing things and people and situations. But I really didn't like understand that, how she looks at things is just a real, benefit for me. It's like such a huge advantage because she sees things in a way that I can't, and she's got skills that I don't have. But she's not a marketing person. She's my wife, and she loves me and cares about me and wants the best for me. So she's not going to give me, I took it, right. All the advice she gave me as negative, and so I took it as negative, but it's like, she's, if I actually was smart, I would have thought about it. It's like, gee, does she hate me or does she love me? No, she loves me. Does she want me to fail in business? Well, of course not, because it's like, she gets dragged along, whether it's success or failure. It's like, right. Would she rather live in poverty or live, much well off? So I had to learn to lend a keen ear to my wife. And actually, looking back on it, had I done that, there's some business situations where I wouldn't have gotten involved in, and it would have saved me like a lot of pain. Now, I bounce everything like off of her, and I've got a board, where I bounce things off of, so I'm able to take myself out of the picture and be much more wise about things.
And I think that that's a really powerful point. Again, we've covered some awesome things on this call. People may want to consider listening to it a couple of times just to make sure that they get it, because for you it's your wife and that's fine, but you mentioned that you've got a board of directors, so you're not the only one making decision. You mentioned that you also take your wife's point of view, and it's a drastically different point of view than you yourself. In fact, she's not even coming from the same perspective, and that is just one of the most powerful things, because our brains, we are hardwired to take snap judgments and go from our gut. And sure, there's valid reasons for it and why we can trust it if it's within our expertise. But there's also just the common knowledge, and that you can be too close to a subject. It's so powerful just to find another outside opinion. That goes back to even the imposter syndrome I mentioned at the beginning of the call, where they notice that people tend to rate themselves. Like when you're too full of yourself, that's when, what's that saying? Nothing fails like success. right? Because you just get ahead of yourself, and then you're just, you've kind of gone with the wind, quote unquote, where exactly what we said before. Hey, I'm unbeatable. I've generated these millions of dollars, and I know the formulas, and you do this, do that, and everything just works. And it's not necessarily always that way. It definitely helps, but I just think that there's really solid principles, and the reason why I've been stopping to shine light on these, Chris, just so also our viewers or listeners understand, is that habits are really, really, really important. In fact, most of your success is based on the habits you have or don't have. Are you educating yourself? Obviously you are, because you're listening to this. Do you take that education and apply it to action? Are you constantly doing outreach and expanding your network? Are you trying new things? Are you experimenting? Are you looking for answers outside of the box? Like, are you thinking laterally? Are you seeing something someone's doing in a different industry and testing if it could work for you in your industry and maybe revolutionize it? So there's just a lot of key things here that I just mentioned, again, just from the beginning, the diagnostic procedure to making a list and prioritizing if possible solutions, applying a temporary solution and getting some data before you jump all in, creating a dashboard to monitor, to measure and track results, having a panel of experts, to not be the one-man show, to seek out guidance if you're lost and concerned, to look for, to seek out and to enjoy differences in opinions. Because I know myself, if you've just, have a bunch of people that are drinking your Kool-Aid, and they can even have your best interest at heart, but if they just agree with everything that, they don't want to let you down, right? That can be one of the hardest things to get, is an objective point of view, an objective perspective, someone that's not, that isn't afraid to challenge you or question you or see it a different way. Really, 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 really powerful. I mean, that's why there aren't more successes. I mean, even the best marketers in the world, we still have failures, because you can't, if it were that easy, there would be more multimillionaires and billionaires, but it's not, and there's just a lot at play. So, anyway, so the habits and the foundation you build is super, super, super important. Chris, are there any other habits that you feel that have really helped lead you on your path to success?
I think, Daryl, I think the ones that you just laid out, like those are, are pretty much all of them. Studying, learning, having discipline to being disciplined to do things on a regular basis, whether I feel like it or not. Side note, like with Iron Man, like talk to people, it's like, oh my gosh, that's so impressive. Wow, I wish I could do that. I think it's like some amazing thing. It's like, really it wasn't. It's like, my wife came out and met our Iron Man team, and she was like, these people are doing Iron Man? It's like, some of them look like they should be Weight Watchers or something like that. It's like all it is just being disciplined to do the daily activity, and a lot of daily activity is boring, and just doing the stuff whether you feel like it or not. And then 8 months later, here I was completing an Ironman, pain-free, injury-free. And so it's like anybody can do an Ironman. Anyone can do things, but it's just a matter of just having the right discipline. So, the key things, studying, learning, discipline, prioritizing what to work on, and then working on things, and then analyzing your results.
Yeah.
The problem with this, though, Daryl, here's the biggest problem with this. One word with this: boring. This stuff is boring. Like people is like, oh my gosh, you did Iron Man. It's like, I want to do one. And they want to be ready in a week. It's like, it's like, wow, Daryl, you help guys build 7-figure funnels. Oh my gosh, I want to do that, and I want to do that this week. I don't have a product. I don't have any skill sets. I haven't done anything in the last 10 years to really give myself, so I've got something of value to offer, to people. I haven't got my nose bloodied in the trenches, learning and crafting and refining myself. It's like, I want to be rich next week.
Yep.
It's like pitching a story where you can get rich overnight is much more exciting. Or, I see clients jumping on bright shiny object bandwagons all day long. It's funny because and forgive me if I'm taking off on a tangent here, but the stuff that we talked about, it's boring. As opposed to, when I'm working with clients, they buy into the pipe dream, of being sold, that's being sold everywhere. Like I got a client, his last business, he built from scratch to $600 million. That's pretty significant.
That's
600. I've never built a $600 million company. So this guy, he's a smart guy, you know. And after working with him for, you know, like 2 years, he said, he goes, Chris, you know, I'm really beginning to realize that the stuff online, it's not as easy as it looks. You know, it's like the message I hear is like it's easy, and I'm gonna, you know, if we're not making like $100 million within the first 30 days, we're losers. And it's like it's a message that you know I've been preaching to them all along, and like so clients they'll buy this pipe dream, you know, it's being sold everywhere, and instead of like approaching and working smartly on stuff. You know, it's funny because I have to spend their good money on convincing them of spending their good money on helping them make money. You know, it's like instead of like, you know, like them buying into things, and they're buying into the shiny stuff instead of this boring stuff. And then they insist on bright, shiny objects and false beliefs, and then they fail until they're ready to listen, buy into, you know, better approach that can produce bigger returns, and work on, you know, these things that you know, like you recap so eloquently. That's really, you know, like help, that'll help people. And the interesting thing is that when you work on the boring stuff, you fast forward a year, 2 years from now, you will greatly outpace and outdistance the guys that are just like going from like shiny object to shiny object.
Yeah, wholeheartedly. And in fact, that's something that we should maybe, I don't know, there's no real set time for these calls. So, I mean, it's just about delivering value. And I want to make sure that we talk a little bit about kind of what you're doing these days. But I think this is a really important point because that's, again, it's the same thing to take the same example. You're looking to run an Ironman. You're looking to swim 2.5 miles, cycle 112, and then jog 27 miles afterwards. So what do? You jog a little bit, and then you wake up the next day, you try and jog a little bit further, and the next day you try and jog a little bit further, right? Obviously without killing yourself in training, but it's the same thing in business. I mean, there's only 3 ways to grow a business. That's to get more customers, to sell more to those existing customers, and to sell more to them more frequently. Get people to buy from you, get them to buy more often, and get them to buy more when they do buy. And the thing is that there's just 101 different ways to do that. And it's every day waking up and just hammering that craft. You know, how are our sales? How are our refunds? How are, you know, testimonials, complaints, and repeat, and the different strategies and tactics, whatever tools you're looking to apply, or whoever strategy or whose approach or whose philosophy. It's just about daily, just drilling that in. And I know, it's just not the shiny object. That's what we want. Right? The grass is always greener. We want to find the bigger, better, easier, shorter way, but there's just nothing. There's nothing. There's nothing wrong with the way people have been making money. That's the thing that I come across the most for me. People that want to do something new. No one's ever done this before. It's going to be amazing. And sometimes you're like, yeah, that's great. But also you have to also remember, the pioneers got the arrows, the settlers got the land. You know, and it's that whole concept of just sell what people are already buying, because I can come up and, you know, and we want new innovations, and by all means follow those passions. But when you're looking to get a business up and running, it's just really easy to go into a market, or if your business is already up and running, to look at what your competitors are doing and at least just do that as a baseline to get cash flow coming through, right? Getting in and a model from. I'm going on my own tangent now, but I just think that it's just these get rich overnight. It's not an overnight thing. There's a trapping of success too, and that's why I think it's important people choose to do something they love, because even, again, say world, like Olympic level, you go to the Olympics and you compete for anything. You're not going to like win or lose and then decide to take time off. Like, it's just, you're not going to go to the Olympics for ping pong and then the day after the Olympics be like, oh, all right, I'm going to take up tennis now. Like, you just, you know, because habit is so ingrained in who we are and what we do in our lives, and that 24 hours every morning, well, all we have is 24 hours, how we use that. And so if that's the magic, the secret sauce is just waking up and using your 24 hours better, and then having those habits. But then there's the trapping of that. And I think there's some people that purposefully, I know myself, sometimes I lay off the gas because I'm almost afraid of becoming trapped into being someone, if that makes sense. If I do it and I sell a bunch of those, now I actually have to do this. Now I've got to fulfill on that. Oh, look at all the responsibility and pressure on me. But I think a lot of it is mindset and psychological fear. But if people are really looking to break through and grow their business, I think we really gave them the formula today. I mean, in a few different ways, and how to diagnose their problem, apply the solution. They know they can turn to yourself or myself if they have questions, or anybody else to get help. And just really focusing on that, on those fundamentals every day. Chris, yep. We're supposed to ask you about a book and a quote at some point in time along this call. You got anything for our listeners?
My favorite quote comes from Proverbs. It's like 3, 5, and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. Look to Him in all you do, and He'll direct your path. Because it's been like a guiding light for me, because it's like I like predictable, and pretty much every situation I've been put in has been unpredictable, and learning to cope in uncertainty has been a real challenge for me, because like I said, I like predictable and I like to be in control. So learning how to function in uncertainty has been a personal challenge that I've had to work with over the years. Favorite book. It's funny. I don't really have a favorite book, so I'm going to give you a few. Well, actually, I do have one favorite book, and I'm going to give you like a few first before I get to my one favorite book.
Sure.
Why People Buy by Guy Baker is absolutely fantastic for if anyone's doing actually any type of sales, whether it's online, especially if you're doing face-to-face sales. That's just brilliant. And then another book is Sell, Little Red Hen, Sell by Jeffrey Hansler. Okay. And that so smoothly, succinctly, and entertaining tells like the emotional triggers of like why people buy things. And the part on when I read about like values-based selling, and it's not values the way we would traditionally define them. When I read that, it was like a whole new world opened up to me, and it's like that made it like really, really helpful to like, go into any market and know how to sell people stuff. Og Mandino, pretty much anything by him is just such an awesome storyteller.
Yeah, he's such a good, yep.
And then my all-time favorite book is The Little Mouse, the Red-Ripe Strawberry, and the Big Hungry Bear.
What?
The Little Mouse, the Red-Ripe Strawberry, and the Big Hungry Bear. I've got 4 kids. My youngest is a boy. He's 3.5. All four kids have loved this book, and I absolutely love reading it. It's just so much fun. It's just I think that's like probably my all-time favorite book. You get nothing out of it except for entertainment. So,
oh God, I got it. The Little Mouse, the Red Ripe Strawberry. I've got it up out here on Amazon, and the Big Hungry Bear. That's awesome. It's got a ton of reviews. People seem to really love it.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then the other ones it was Why People Buy? Is that Guy Baker, or was it Paco Underhill?
No, Guy Baker.
Got it. Guy Baker, Why People Buy. And then the other one was...
Sell, Little Red Hen, Sell.
Sell, Little Red Hen, Sell. And, of course, anything by Og Mandino.
Yeah, and Sell, Little Red Hen, Sell is by Jeffrey Hansler, Hansler. And then Og Mandino is kind of a strange name, O-G. And then last name, Mandino, Mandino. Those
are great. Yeah, those are great suggestions. I actually haven't read Why We Buy. I'm going to buy that right now. It's funny, my landlord came by and he was like, you can't possibly be reading all these books, can you, Daryl? Because it's like every day I got something coming in and I'm like, hey, the book you don't own you can't read, and the book you don't read can't help you. So I don't necessarily get through them all top to bottom, but they're there, and I crack all of them open, and I give them each at least some of my time. So.
And Daryl, I gotta say, you can tell that you're a great student, because I am like more and more impressed with more and more I talk to you about how just like the depth of your knowledge, and it's and that you've acquired in relatively short period of time. It's like you're so young, and gosh, it's like you've got so much wisdom already, and it's like from our conversations, it's easy to see why, because it's you're reading a ton of stuff. You're associating with some really smart people. You're in some good mastermind groups. And you're constantly like testing and learning and applying stuff. It's it's like it's actually quite refreshing and very impressive.
Thank you, Chris. I really, really, really appreciate that. That means a lot to me coming from you. Thank you. I do appreciate that. I have heard that from a couple other people. All I can really say is it's focus without even necessarily intending to have focus. Just trying to. I think just even as a kid, I remember I went to French immersion for grades 7 and 8 because I remember sitting down looking at my report card in grade 6 and going like, all right, I got to stick with what I'm good at. And I went through everything, and French was like the class I did better, which if anyone's from Canada, they're probably laughing because French is like, we call it like a bird course because often you just have to show up to get it. But I decided to specialize and do that, and I've done that all my whole life. Whenever I kind of look at something, all right, what have I been doing? What am I already good at? Let's just do more of that. Hey, all right, what have I been doing? What am I good at? Let's just do more than that. So I appreciate that. A lot of people have said I've accomplished a lot or learned a lot in a short period of time, but I don't know if I think I'm special at all. I don't know. It's just, thank you. That's all I'm going to say. Thank you. And this podcast, having people like you here is my sincere attempt to share it with the world, because I feel that in candid interviews like this, you can learn so much faster than just in reading in books. That's why I'm in masterminds. Having that mind share, being able to ask questions and get answers and deal with people who's in the know. I mean, I feel like that's one of the most underutilized, one of the most powerful yet most underutilized tools of our age is the internet, because in on all its capacity. Right now, let's say I'm facing a problem. I'm a runner and I've got some sort of issue. I can look up online who's the world's best runner with times and all that stuff. I can find out who their coach is, and I can find them on Facebook and go ask them a question. I'm able from my home, wherever I am, to reach out and access the world's leading experts in anything and just ask them a question. And a lot of people will answer, or people like me and you who are here actively trying to give it away just to help people. And I just think there's so many people that instead they're watching Family Guy and playing video games and things like that, which is okay to have that entertainment. But I'm not special. I just like you, just had to figure out a way to make it work. And, one of the best things you can do is just surround yourself with other people and just learn. You do better when you know better. And I'm very verbose and rambling on and on. But thank you, Chris. I really appreciate your heartfelt, sincere words. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. But by the way, it's like if anyone listening is somewhat skeptical, like I am, this is like I was all unscripted. So there's no
no.
And just doing more and more. See, and just last comment here was that doesn't, because someone's good at what they're doing doesn't make them better. They're just more skilled in that area. And I think the more people come to terms with it, and more I come to terms with the fact that I am really good at what I do. It's skills that were just part of me naturally, and I just worked on fostering them and growing them. But it doesn't make me more valuable and more important than anybody else. I just got a different set of skills. Like the guy that's digging the ditch, it's honorable what he's doing.
Yep.
It's honorable work. A guy that someone that doesn't understand marketing, it doesn't make them bad or anything like that. It's
right.
They just want to be the artist in their business.
Yep.
And that's their giftedness, and so it's just using complementary skills just to help people advance. That's all.
Yeah. So. No, I agree wholeheartedly. And just since we're on this bus, might as well keep the wheels turning. But the other thing is that, who's to say that you amass $40 million and I amass maybe just $2 million in my lifetime? Who's to say that one of us is going to be happier than the other? I mean, really what makes you happy, I think, is being able to spend your life doing the things that you want to do. And if you want to build a big company, we've got podcasts like this and experts like yourself and myself who can help people, and if that's too much for them, if they don't want to, then that's again, who's to say that one's right, one's wrong?
Yep.
That's exactly it. So, but in today's call, I really do encourage people who've listened to this to listen to this call a couple of times and take note of anything, because again, like you said, it's almost kind of boring. I mean, once you know what works, it's just a matter of doing it, and that's, I think, where I think that's part of where we fall short, is when we have our successes multiple times in a row, and then we let it get boring, if that makes sense. Because when your mind starts to drift, you're just doing routine, formulaic stuff. Sometimes the money stops counting. I remember when I was in Tokyo, I was making what I thought was phenomenal money at the time, but after a while, the monotony of what I was doing just became too much, and so I moved on. So, not to say that this is that. That's why I think we like to do client work, because it allows us to get involved in different projects and apply the same skills, but just in different scenarios: fresh faces, fresh people, fresh problems.
Yep.
So, Chris, what are you working on now? What are you really excited about?
I've been playing some really big markets, and it's been a lot of fun. I've worked, in I think it was like 71 different industries, but I think that was last count. I think it's probably like closer, like about 100. I've been playing in some really big markets and in things that I'm really interested in, which is like personal health, and just a lot like personal health, like healthy eating, longevity. Like truth about health, like different health products, and how to live, dieting for longer life. And I don't believe in dieting, but just like lifestyle. Right. Like I said, I've got 4 kids. I want to live, live longer and see them. Just so things that not making a quick buck projects, but things that have lasting impact on people, whether it's helping them with financial situations, leaving legacies and priorities to people behind them, and helping people have relief, over whether it's like physical pain or emotional, financial. Like being in those markets have just been really personally gratifying.
Good. Yeah, that's awesome. And you know what? I actually want to take something back. We said it earlier, and I don't know if this is going to upset people or not, but it is what it is, and it's how I feel strongly this way. When we talked about that, the ditch digger isn't a better or worse person than the guy who's, in a beat up car versus the guy who's in a Mercedes, and same thing with whatever you focus on in your day. I agree with that, but one thing that I do agree is I think there is differences in people, and the guy who's just trying to get by and do as little as possible versus the person who's giving their life everything, that's giving it their all. And I think that I think the two highest levels that as a man at least, that you can attain to is one, to be, I think as a woman as well, to be at like the top tier in your industry of your craft and what you do, and just be well accomplished. And then the second thing is to raise a happy, healthy, joyful family. And I think that's, those are really the two things, is to be the best at what you do, whatever it is that you do, and to constantly strive to push the envelope for that further, and just to really kind of leave a legacy, and to take care of your family and your friends, and create a healthy, happy home and community atmosphere. So I think I'm really adamant about that. But that's super exciting. Chris, people want to get in touch with you. What's the next step?
They can always come by my website, and I don't know if there's going to be a link for it or not, but it's Chris Goegan, Goegan, chrisgoegan.com, and there are a couple things on there. There's if they go to /win, or there's a tab on there, there's a place where they can get we can just have a free consultation, just a free chat, really is what it is. Talk about their situation, and then and some things that possibly help them. The other thing is got a special report at chrisgoegan.com /special-report, where it just helps just a lot of things that I've come across. It just gives clarity and wisdom and insight on a lot of common problems and issues, and solutions from the trenches on things.
Got it.
The other thing is that they can always reach out and email me, Chris at chrisgoegan.com.
Sure. Good. So we've got Chris, ChrisGoegan.com with a special
Yep.
report just with his tools, tips, strategies, and tactics in it. And that's at chrisgoegan.com/special report, special-report. Or you can email Chris at, is it Goegan or Chris at Chris Goegan?
Yeah, Chris at chrisgoegan.com.
Got it. There we go. So there we go. Chris, thank you for sharing. Like I said before, these aren't scripted. There's no real benefit for you other than just being able to plug, your website at the end. I really do value and appreciate your time and sharing with the listeners. We'll never really know the impact we have had or haven't had, and so I just appreciate you coming on here, sharing your time and your wisdom with us, and just also thank you for helping me and being a friend. That's just very. It's not commendable, but it's appreciated. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Daryl, and thank you for allowing me to help. It's a great resource that you're providing.
Thank you. Awesome. You've reached the end of our interview. Now, first, let me thank you for listening. I appreciate and respect you more than you'll ever know. And now I'd like to ask you a couple of questions. First, what 3 lessons did you just learn? What 3 aha moments just jumped out at you? Second, what can you implement for yourself and your business in the next 24 hours? Third, what can you give to someone else to help you with, or give them to just do it for you? Whatever it is, remember, taking action is the secret sauce to results. Now, if you think this interview would be helpful for a friend, please give them a link to it. It'll help them and it'll help me too. I'd also like to invite you to help me find out more about the challenges you're facing, your dreams, your goals, and how I can help you overcome what's holding you back. We both do better when we know better, and your success is my success. So please reach out and interact. You can visit our website, bestbusinesscoach.ca for Canada or California, where I'm from and where I'm living. You're welcome to also try out one of our paid programs. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, and pretty much every other social media channel you can think of. You should also subscribe to the podcast, and if you're enjoying them, please leave us a nice review. It really helps. That's all for now. Once again, thank you. Take care of yourself, and remember, the world needs the best business you can build. And I believe in you.